Hey, Stefan, I watched that second video a couple of times, the second one you sent me. Yeah, I don't know what happened to the first one. It just never showed up. No idea whatsoever. I don't know what kind of filtering happens between Serbia and here, or vice versa. And yeah, I don't have any of those means to WhatsApp or anything like that. I have, what is it? Messenger. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I have an account, so I have... Yeah, I'm on Facebook Messenger. If you wanted, if you had that, we can set that up. But yeah, this is okay. You know what? I think what I want to do is just address the things that you talked about here in public, or it's to you really, but other people would be interested in this. You're clairvoyant. It's a difficult one to get into. You and I, we can do it here. I see what's going on. I hear, I know you. I know what's going on, and I am on board with what you have going on exactly. It's a tough thing, you're right, because there's a lot of people that have these experiences. We all do. It's something is natural that's going on. But we get hooked into that and we think that, oh, wow, I got something going on. And a lot of people get way overboard with what's going on and what they think and whatnot. So you listen to the person and their approach, and you look for, the genuine there. It's like any religion. There's something here that we're working with, and people know that there's this magical, mystical feeling, something going on, so it gets blown up into a huge thing by bunches of people when there's actually something in there, but they go overboard with it. And I think the same thing happens with the psychic realm. Science doesn't, they consider it a pseudoscience, where I think that what is happening is that we're in an energy collective. And that is something that can't be measured. And it's also something that individuals, there's some people that are very sensitive to it, and there are people that are not very sensitive at all to it. So you can't look at it and say that's really there. We have to kind of work at it on our own and infer it. And by understanding what it is, you can kind of work how, see what's working. Okay, so this is what I would say. If you're having clairvoyant experiences, first of all, let's step outside of everything and, look at life from as an energy or something like that from far away. And what we see is things continue to cycle. No matter what, everything is in cycles. The cause and effect is there. Even in human life, things are happening that are cyclical. And that humans come and humans go, but they're all in patterns, that the humans emerge within those patterns. So it appears that it can appear like like maybe reincarnation or something like that. Let's talk about this a little bit more. First of all, the reincarnation thing, I think, well, how does the population keep growing? Where are the extra souls coming from? At some point, you have to say, well, there must be some way to develop new souls through birth. Then our other souls being reborn at that point, when the population goes down, where were all the souls when dinosaurs roamed the earth? At some point you're like, well, I don't know about that soul hopping concept right there. Where were the souls when the universe that we are in, this bubble that we are in anyway, that we know is our universe, where were the souls when that was just in the beginning stages? You look at it and go, it's more natural to think, for me, that everything is moving in cycles and that we appear as consciousnesses within those cycles, and that we can be somewhat aware of that, and that we're seeing repeats, and that I know some of the things you said. I don't know if I want to. I don't know what degree to talk about it all here in public, but I think it's easy. For me, I can look at this material as I study it. There was a time I thought, wow, I'm like a reincarnation of this process right here, or something like that. You're reading through what you should do and how you should be isolated and get away and let go and things like that. And you're reading it going, you know what? I don't have to do that. I do that automatically. That's my personality right there. And at some point, as you're going through the material, you realize, you know what? I'm an iteration of this brain type right here that is repeating this, but I have the awareness to know that. That's how I answer it for myself. Let's see. Okay, as far as reincarnation, Indian reincarnation, It's like going to Christianity and saying they all know about the return of Christ, when the return of Christ really means when you turn inward. They don't know what the return of Christ is. In Hinduism, they don't know what reincarnation is. They think it means coming back again and again until you wash it all off. What it really means is, in the spiritual world, you've gathered a lot of things. You must go in and wash off every one of them as a rebirth over and over again until you've completely purged. They don't have that in the Bible. What they have instead is just story after story after story where that is happening as people move along. It's hidden in the background. Instead of it being you doing it over and over again, it is slices of you. They change the name along the way. It's you as iterations. I start out as Abram, then become Abraham, then become Isaac, then become Jacob. All of that is how they're doing it there. So what it really means is just going inward over and over again and resolving things. Hindus, sorry, that's what it really means. It doesn't mean you're going to keep coming back over and over again as a soul. You don't have anything that nobody, that's unique. Everyone teaches the same thing in different ways. That you must go in and resolve everything that bothers you until it no longer bothers you, and your life will be better as a result. But that since everything in the universe is made in waves, nothing can exist within that without it being waves as well. That's the fundamental building block. That means things are going to cycle over and over again. We are cycles. Everything that we're living in are cycles of something. It cannot be otherwise. We live, and we don't see it that way. We don't perceive it that way. Within our own mind, our consciousness, we see our life. We don't step out of it enough to go, oh, wow, I'm a pattern. As far as the free will, this is one where I think there might be a point in time where we can express free will. Typically, when we're developing or doing something new, we're just gathering experiences. But when we're living through experiences and living through knowledge, we're not using free will. I think the only time that I might argue that's possible that we're using free will is if we stop and understand, oh, I'm living through my memories. I have to stop and go address those things. That I am going to consciously, mentally turn inward and go address those memories that are causing me to act out and not have free will. Is it free will at that time when you are turning inward and saying, I am in charge now. I'm going to change you so that when I'm not paying attention, you're no longer acting out. Then you go back to not living. You go back to living through your habits, or whatever you have in your mind. Anyway, I guess it doesn't matter. We're living through our memories until we know that. Eckhart will teach to use the consciousness and the memories and to, mentally bypass the things that are going on. And you know what? What I'm doing in the material, when God and the called person are linking back up, that's what that is. That's the consciousness and the higher awareness right there working with the memory. He's teaching exactly what this material is teaching. He's just not telling you that the material, that it's coming from the material. I'm kind of exposing the Bible that's what it's teaching. That's what spiritual material teaches. Okay, so then as far as the clairvoyant thing then, at some point you realize if everything is moving in waves, then everything that's happening is like cyclical repeats of something and it's being driven by something. Things that are out there happening are not happening in a vacuum. What is happening when you see it the physical manifestation of it is the final result of the energy that finally comes together right there and it manifests. And then it's going to do it again at some point in time. What's the frequency? It depends what it is. Is it a person or a city, a people, something? Things are going to repeat. They're going to cycle. This was actually an important part of my growth at some point in time, realizing that as I move from place to place in life, that eventually things return to the same way they were. And I realized at some point I'm the common denominator, and without realizing it, I'm bringing with me the very issues that I have not. I don't have these resolved from my past, so everywhere I go, I reestablish somehow the connections necessary to have them reoccur. It's at that point you begin to infer things like, well, then there's an energy in action before the final manifestation. There's something driving this before it finally happens. The physical manifestation is just the final result. There's energy there driving it. You have to change the energy that drives it to change the manifestation. I think that it is possible for the consciousness, the brain, we're living in that energy collective, that emotional collective, but our brains are connected together in such a way as we get more complex and we begin to develop language. Like my Larry story. Larry's dead. That's because Larry was consciously reaching out to me. We were very close. I was feeling fidgety. I didn't know what to do. However, it was too late. I realize now as I'm reaching for the door and I hear Larry's dead, but I think that my mind knew that he was gone through that collective field, and that the two terms Larry's dead came from my own consciousness. Larry's dead didn't come through the ether floating to my mind. The knowledge of his death was there in my mind through that field, and Larry's dead was plugged in from my own memory. That told me what I needed to. If I didn't know Larry and I didn't know dead, I couldn't have done that. That's where it came from. So there was a source for those terms right in my own mind. Now, the 747 story is different. I'm looking for answers. I don't know what to do. And I keep seeing that 747 appear, times, trailer numbers, addresses, purchases. It was like, what? 747. I'm developing that UAV aircraft at the time. So there's a lot of weird stuff that's going on, but the 747 keeps appearing to me, and then somebody gives me some stranger gives me a log-on password. Because of the development, because of the work I'm doing, they want me on board with something they have going on with aerial photography. And so they send me a password to log on that's Luke747, and my middle name is Luke. And I was like, where do you get that from? And he said, read your Bible. And it's that story where, she who, the inner being, love much, all sins are forgiven. The purity of the inner self comes in the form of replacing everything within with love or something. It's difficult because you can't, it's a spiritual thing you're doing. There's a time we have to judge life that it's not a complete pure. It's really about letting go of the things that are hurting you, the odd against your brother, all of that. It is not about loving the world and loving everything that's going on. It's about being somebody that is not hurt from your judged experiences. But when you think that through, okay, somebody else that has no idea that 747 this has been going on for probably 2 years, this 747 appearing over and over and over, and I never got it. That right there in order for that to happen, it took the engagement of a different brain that was doing something that is the link up. You just look at it and go, boy, I don't see how that could happen. I don't know how that can happen. Yeah, people would look at it and go, there you go. It's a miracle. It's magical. There's something going on there. And there's a point where it begs to be explained. For me, I look at it and go, these are anecdotal stories. Again, people have to apply it to your own personal experiences. But I think what would happen if you were, imagine evolving and you could see a creature in your mind, you were clairvoyant and you could see it attacking before it got there. What if you evolved in order to see something like that? Because it would be helpful. You not only would be more sensitive that's me, I'm the one that gets sensitive when it approaches, but you're the one that knows before it even gets here. It's like, whoa. And I'm the one that goes, okay, here it is. It's coming up now. Yeah, I think that there's some variations going on, and I have no doubt that there's reasons for that to be there. And I've had enough of my own experiences to know that, yeah, that happens. I have a different one that happens to me. I don't really see things beforehand, but things happen always accidentally. A lot of times in my life, I've had, like at the end of a climb or something like that with a group of people where you've been out there on the mountain and camping in tents and talking amongst yourselves and, you get you talk about a lot of things about life up there in the mountains. And several times at the end of climbs, I've had people come up to me and said, hey man, you said some things I really needed to hear. How did you know? Thank you, or something like that. Or sitting around the fire, somebody say, how did you know I needed to hear that? And you never do. All I'm doing is telling my story. At some point, I think that there's nothing going on there except that I have been through the healing process that they're needing to go through. And out the other side of it, I'm willing to talk about it. And people need that all over the place. And they say, how did you know? And you're like, I didn't know. I'm just telling my story, and you need to hear it. You just happen to be somebody that needed to hear it. Yeah. But, I don't always tell those stories. I think somehow something is going on in the background that I'm not aware of. At some point you're You're just doing the right thing, and you feel like an instrument somehow, that somehow you're on some course. For me, it's been that way. It's like things keep happening. There's times through this material where I'm trying to understand a piece of text. It's like that's doing something in my psyche, except that it's 6,000 years ago, and they're living completely different, and I can't figure out what this chunk of story is representing in my psyche. It's an analogous tale of something that represents a life experience. And you have to set it down, and it'll get to the point where my brain hurts, but it's like things all of a sudden start appearing in your mind. Boom, 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 boom. Parts that you need are falling into place, and within a couple of days, you're like, okay, I got it. Examples in the story is, why does God disappear at some point in time? Things go bad, and then God comes back to clean things up. Yet there's stuff going on along the way that deals with God. God's not there, but God's sending plagues or something like that. Looking at those things going, how come God is such a non-player at some points in time and then comes back? And understanding the connection then to the higher awareness. That's the kind of stuff that's like, whew, what are they doing? How does that happen? Is it a natural process that grows because you're looking for something? That's the seek and you will find, knock and it will be opened. When you're really looking for something like that, if you give it time, it emerges. That happens all the time in this material. It happened a lot, and it still does. If I don't understand something, I just, whoa, that's weird. Give it a day or two and come back and read it again, and okay. Sometimes during making a video, okay, that's completely something different. There's more going on than just what I experience, I know. But I also know that there's a lot of people's experiences they talk about that aren't really going on. So, again, it's a difficult topic here. But you are doing something that I have also done before. I've had clairvoyant things happen. When I was young, it happened all the time. Clairvoyance, and I always knew, mom's about ready to bust in the door. Yep, sure enough. I knew just ahead of time that a danger was going to happen. Now, the things you have to ask yourself is, to what end? There's things that you're hearing that are showing you that something is there. But are they something that is like, because of this, I saved a life. I prevented something. Look at the significance of the connection and probably understand that the connection is there. It's valid. It's viable. But what is it? What is it doing? It's showing you that you have a connection, a brain connection to a process where sometimes you see what is in action before it manifests. You're seeing that field that is being carried, and you're becoming aware of it. And then it happens. Well, you're obviously, if we know that this physical occurrence is coming in the form of a wave, you're picking up on the wave before the occurrence happens. Does that make sense? Yeah, you're seeing it ahead of time. The wave is already there. Just that things have to manifest in time and space for it to become a physical reality, for it to manifest. You're seeing the wave before that manifestation happens in those cases. That's what I would say. I would look at that and go, yeah, that makes sense as to what's going on. Somehow the brain is doing something, and then it's coming into your consciousness in a way that looks like, what the hell? Where's that coming from? And the reincarnation, the other stuff too. I'm thinking, I've never had that experience with reincarnation. I know other people have. I know there's a lot of people that put so much stock into it that they say that proves that it happens. And I think that the term reincarnation in the spiritual world really means, I fix that, whew, I feel better. Oh, I got something else. Oh, I fixed that. All right, I feel better. You know what? There's a point where you go, I don't want to carry these burdens, and I have to make amends. I've got to do something. And the called person is going to feel that way. Other people are not. If you feel burdened by something, you're going to want to feel unburdened. And then you'll find that as soon as you feel unburdened, that all of a sudden the magic starts just flowing. For me, that's how it works. Anyway, okay. So I wanted to reply and say that that's what I think. I think it's really easy to say I want to be a part of that. I think that I am a part of something that is it's a larger whole, and I don't know what that is. You can see it here when you get to the higher awareness and look from this realm. You go, wow, this was here before my consciousness was there. I emerged My consciousness and my physical experience emerge from here. And it's all good and it's all bad. Whatever it is emerges from here. But if I rectify the memories, the hurt memories of my physical experiences, then I can live from up here. We can all get up here right now and go, okay, I feel good from here. But you get sucked back into the memories. You can get up here and say, I'm trying to heal. That's what you have to do, is heal those memories. That's what sucks you in or continues to cause the life to cycle. Anyway, that's the teaching of the material. Then what happens is whatever phenomena. I mean, your Father who sees in secret rewards you in secret. So things happen that are natural for your brain to do, that you connect with, that I believe is a natural thing. But because because back then we wouldn't have put this kind of a thought process to it. Today we have developed so much that it's like, wow, that's a magical, mystical thing. When I think it's a survival thing, perhaps, and that only not everybody could do it. Some people, probably everybody can do it once in a while, a little bit, maybe. Everybody, when you're young, when all the deja vu and all those little things hit before you start developing more and more and more, and you kind of lose that. When you clear up that stuff, those things start happening again. However, in your case, you did not seem to lose the connection with it. I've got the connection to it back, but I don't do the see things ahead of time. I don't think so. But other things happen all the time anyway. The right stuff happens just accidentally. That's where Taoism teaches you to do nothing and everything will be fine. If you've resolved all this stuff, that's exactly right. You don't have to keep making stuff happen. Stuff happens. In fact, that's the Jesus one too. If you resolve the odd against your brother, then your Father who sees in secret rewards you in secret. Yeah, that's the same one. It returns back to that. So, things will happen for me, like I'll find my wife's keys somewhere in the garage and put them on the shelf. She never puts them there. She lost her keys, but before she needed them, I found them. So we didn't have to go look for the keys. Things like that happen. It's like we kind of police behind each other somehow. If somebody forgets something, it's, I don't know. There's a connection that happens that you realize is very natural. Often, we just share a lot of thoughts, and we talk about that. And at some point, you realize this is a natural thing, and it's happening everywhere. That we're all from our central nervous system, emanating and receiving from from the field around us, emotion, and that gets translated into conscious thought in our mind that we don't know where it comes from because it's mysterious. It comes in like through the back door, the sixth sense. But I think that that's what it is. I think that that's a natural channel that we're because the development of language and our belief systems, all of that now weigh into what we classify that as. And it is there. It is absolutely there. I experience it too, absolutely. But I think that that's what it is, that we're aware of those fields. Now in different ways. And we've talked about inferring them before experientially for ourselves in times of like a worship or in learning or something like that, where you get that really high uplifted feeling in a group of people or in a connection with somebody that you can't achieve on your own. And you sense that elevation in a joyous state. So here we have a good feeling, and we have it with a group being able to increase the amplitude of that feeling to something that's higher than you can get on your own. It's going to help drive you. The same opposite happens in protest or things like that, where people go and they get involved in it and it gets wild, it gets out of hand. Pretty soon they're breaking windows and tearing down streets and burning stuff, tearing down buildings, all that kind of stuff. And the same thing is happening, only this time it's a negative, a anger, a hatred, a violent emotion. So that one is also there. That's like the two extremes of what this channel is right there. That's what we're operating through right there, and that we don't know it. And that when it's not high amplitude like that, we're still operating through it, just not at that high of an amplitude. And we're connecting with very little of it, and sometimes stuff we don't need, but sometimes things that we do, and that's what I think is really there. But that everybody is in that. It's a matter of whether you're aware of it or not, and how clean is your flow through it. You have to be aware that you're in a flow, and that the flow that you're in is dictated on the energy, the emotional state of the memories you're holding it with. You get those purified, then you live life doing your best to be enlightened. I want to comment to somebody else that said there's all kinds of enlightenment. I'm going to say, no, there's only one enlightenment. You can't say there's all kinds of enlightenment. Enlightenment means one thing. It's an analogous term. It would mean like nirvana or the kingdom of heaven within. Enlightenment, what it means is living life from the higher awareness, free of the bundle of memories that is hurting you, that you're devoid of that. Like yeah. So enlightenment is that. It is living through the higher awareness and not living through our memories and our conscious judgments. We're living free of that. Okay. Oh, so I wanted to reply and say that. I don't know if I covered everything. Go ahead and leave me a message. I know, the long responses. You know what? If you leave a long response, before you click send, copy it. I've done that before, and then when you send it and look, and you might see it post, and then you click off and then click back on and go, hey, it was taken back off. Somehow the YouTube filters take those off, and they're benign. They're big. I think if it gets to the point where it's like, I don't recognize what this is, it's too much. It's AI that looks at it, and it has to pass AI. I think there's a point where their AI goes, I don't know what to do with this. Just get it out. I don't know. It's too complex. It's not using swear words or anything like that. I know it's just really weird. Then you go other places and you find swear words are allowed, but in short sentences. So yeah, I think it doesn't like big replies. I've dropped those too. Then just email it to me. Okay. All right. Those are my thoughts on it. I think that it's a natural process that we are involved in, and that I am a conscious iteration from an egg and a sperm that is a repeating process that is going to continue to repeat beyond me as well, at least as long as humanity is here. I don't know if it goes to the size of the universe or if it remains within the collective consciousness of humanity. I don't know. I know that it is there, at least there. How far beyond, it may not. Why? I think it would need an organic. It needs a brain and a nervous system that has the capacity to experience emotion. Yeah, that's what is required for this. That's life. That's organic life. Well, not trees and plants, but who knows, maybe on some level. Anyway, won't go there. All right. So I think we're dealing with natural processes, but that we don't understand them, and they look like they're mysterious. And that if we treat them as such, it doesn't affect their capacity to operate or not. In fact, for me, it helped me understand, this is why you do it. If you have questions about what you want to resolve, understand this, that your flow is based on what you don't want to resolve. Guess what? You're accepting your failures right there. Then you go, I got to resolve that. This is going to happen again, and I don't want it to happen again. So you resolve it. And as you resolve those things, you see sometimes the fit with the people that you went there because there were some things that had to be resolved, or because things needed to be experienced. Whether you were going to resolve them or not, you were going to experience them again until you resolve them. Then things still cycle, but they just cycle in a different way. They cycle in a positive way instead of a negative way. Can't stop the cycles. Everything is framed in cycles. That's why in the beginning of the material, it very much emphasizes there's cycles. There's something orbiting, and the trees, seeds, more seeds. The cause and effect is right there. We live through cause and effect in cycles, and they were teaching that from Babylon. Maybe before. I should say only at the level of template. The template is based on this right here. When you realize what it is, it's like, oh my gosh, they were teaching this. This is where this life cycle template, as far back as I can find it, is there. And you can see shades of it in Gilgamesh and elsewhere. So yeah, this was known very early on when people had time to think it through and live it. We've lost it due to just not having the time, taking the time. Anyway, okay, well, that's it for this video. Those are my thoughts on it. I believe we're dealing with natural processes from antiquity being reemployed today in modernity that we don't understand and that are being used as a more complex transference. But it still is, I mean, when does it happen? Life back then would have been pretty simple compared to today. Now we have so many different things that we have going on. But you're seeing things ahead of time. I mean, it lets you know that there is something going on, but what is it? I think what it is we're observing waves of consciousness reoccurring. Somehow we're just aware of them. If they're conscious, we can be conscious of them. But why would you? Why tune into it? There's all kinds of radio waves in my head right now from around the area that I'm not tuned into. How do you tune into them? Same goes there. What makes you tune into something suddenly? And then all the other things around you, the many, many, many things going on around you that you never aware of, don't tune into. So it's a big picture. Anyway, it's a fun topic though too, isn't it? And of course, as always, these are theories. These are all theories. Nobody, you just have to look at it and go, what could it be? And find a way to explain it. Knowing that it works for everybody in the world that has different beliefs and there's different things going on. So I think it's a natural process, but our learning has gotten in the way and we attribute more to it than what there really is. But that also, and this becomes more and more clear, that just not very many people are going to do it or be able to do it. Yeah, it's not a path for anybody. It's a path for anybody of a certain type. It's going to be filtered down quite a bit. And in doing so, we may not be finding out the best way to actually engage with it and employ it. If we understand the way something works, then we know how to operate it better. Yeah, we can be more efficient with its use. All right. Hope this was interesting. Whether you agree or not, it's just theory again. So, all right. Take care. See you in the next video.